My mom invited me over to my childhood home for the last time before they were going to move to Alabama. I obviously agreed to come over, seeing that it would be the last time I get a chance to, so I went. And as I got to the house, I walked around, seeing that it would be the last time, and just remembered all the memories that I had there. The times where we sang at the piano in the living room, the times that I'd exercise with my dad in the garage, the backyard that my sister and I would play in growing up. There were so many good memories, till I got to the door. The door that led to my old bedroom. I felt an unease as I saw that door, remembering all the feelings of sadness, distress, and despair that I had in that room. I remember a time when I had created a homemade Ouija board from some cardboard, a sharper, and an old quarter as the planchette. I remember not too much happening as I played it all by myself in my room. Nothing too particularly exciting or scary, but I did remember the feelings that came after that event. How depressed I began to feel about everything. How sad I felt for reasons that I couldn't fully explain. Until I left that house and moved out on my own. And that door to my bedroom scared me as I wondered if some dark entity lurked behind it. Some darkness that caused me to feel all those terrible things way back then. I walked away from that door, too scared to open it, and proceeded to go walk through the rest of the house for the last time. I remembered all the times in the kitchen as I'd talked to Dad about the deep questions of life, and the front lawn that I'd mow and listen to some old songs from whatever favorite artist I was listening to at the time. We then sat in the living room talking about all the memories that we all shared together in that house. We had a great time there, until the moment whenever it was finally time to leave. I remember Mom asking me, "Do you want to go see your own bedroom one last time before you go, honey?" I felt a pit in my stomach as soon as she asked the very question. Like I knew she would eventually ask, but I hoped that she'd forget about it entirely, and we'd just leave without ever having to step in. I don't know why I was so scared at the time. I mean, it was probably all for nothing, but that uneasy feeling just draped over me. That unnerving feeling or dread that something or someone was lurking behind that door, just waiting for me to open it again. I said, "Oh no, there's probably nothing new in there, honestly. It's all just a room that I've seen so many times before." But then she insisted, and so we went. As I put my hand on that doorknob, my heart started to pound. I didn't want to alarm everyone or make them worried, so I just told myself that it was all probably nothing, and that everything was just in my head. I gained enough courage to twist the knob and slowly open the door. I remember the creak of that old door as it slowly opened to a dark room, and then I flipped on the light. There was nothing. Just an empty room with absolutely nothing inside. I sighed and I chuckled, thinking to myself, come on, what did I actually think was going to be inside here? It was only nothing. I got myself worked up over absolutely nothing. I then said goodbye to that room for the last time and headed out the door for the last time. We left the house and I said goodbye, saying how much we were going to all miss each other, and then we all headed our own ways. When I got home, everything was normal. I made myself a good bowl of ramen and turned on some Gordon Ramsay as I chuckled at his frankness and kind words that he had towards everyone. And then I got tired, so I took a shower, brushed my teeth, laid down in bed, turned on some ASMR to help me sleep, and then slowly dozed off to sleep. I woke up frantically, though, as I realized the ASMR had turned off for some reason and felt really parched, so I went downstairs to get some water to drink. As I walked downstairs, that's when I saw him for the first time. A little boy wearing a white t-shirt, blue jeans, and glowing was standing at the bottom of the stairs. His face was blank as if he didn't have one. Immediately, I knew that he had followed me home from that room. I ran as fast as I could back into my room, shut the door, and tried to turn on the lights, but to my horror, the lights wouldn't come on. I was so scared I couldn't even scream as I felt a feeling that something was behind me. I refused to turn around in fear. I didn't want to believe that what was happening was really happening. And then I heard whatever it was say to me in a childlike voice, "Hello, Caleb." And as soon as it said it, the lights immediately came on. I turned around and there was nothing there. I didn't sleep for the entire night, just pacing my room, convincing myself that I didn't just experience what I had experienced, telling myself that it was all in my head and that I was still tired from just being woken up. It was all okay. I went to work the next day and pretended like I didn't see what I saw, but everywhere I'd turn, it felt like I could see the little boy in my peripheral vision, no matter where I'd go. I'd see him peeking behind doors, in the alleys, under desks, everywhere. I felt like I was going crazy. I felt paranoid no matter where I'd go and what I'd do. I had to do something, though, to stop this, and I could only think of one thing to do. So that night, I drove all the way back to my childhood home, and I went inside. I slowly walked through the hallway back to that door that used to be my bedroom. I had no idea what I was doing. Would this even work? I thought. What am I even trying to do here? I didn't know, but all I did know was that I felt like I had to go back into my old room and finish what I had started so long ago. I went to open the door, but before I could, it began to open without me even touching it. And there, on the other side of that door, was a little boy. I felt terrified. I wanted to run, but I knew I had to finish this. What do you want from me? Who are you? Why are you following me? I asked with tears forming in my eyes. He then sat down in the middle of the floor and pointed for me to sit down as well. I walked into the room and then the door shut from behind me. I jumped, but the little boy pointed for me to sit down again, and so I sat down. He then proceeded to tell me this poem, a poem that changed my whole very life. As he said, I was happy and content inside my home, but then he came along. He made me to feel as though I was alone. In truth, I can't say he was wrong. I was beaten and battered, abused and tattered. He held my heart in his hand, but I was never enough. It was me whom he would not love, but my voice could never contend. So this person killed you? I asked. He felt as though you weren't enough, and so he killed you? He nodded. Who are you, and who did this to you? I asked as I was being choked up with sadness. The little boy then got up and pointed right at me. I didn't understand why he was pointing at me until his face, that was blank, started to form, and I realized who the little boy was. He was me. He said, You drowned in your spiteful shame, decided you must get rid of me as I was too lame. Embarrassed by all whom, by all their claims, drove you to a madness which drove you insane. You, with a hate for yourself, fought your old self and drove him to hell. You lost me, forgot me, and locked me up here. I've been waiting and praying you would break down in tears, and that those tears would remind you of who you once were. The beauties of innocence and childlike fervor that ended up as a blur. I cried as I realized all he had said. The child who was me, the me who was dead. As I pondered, wondered, he was no longer here. And I wondered if the only chance getting me back had just disappeared. And as a sudden creeping realization swept over me all at once, as I asked the void where the little boy in the room once stood, if you died so long ago, and you were me, then who am I?